Hello and welcome to This Week at West. I'm Greg Johnson. You guys all know Mr. Dowdell here, as noted in the applause he got last week at the Mr. West Florence contest. What's it like being a celebrity?
I like to think that I am not a celebrity at all. I think there's actually an inside running joke about me. The kids just like laughing at me.
All this and humble. So thanks for joining us today. Let's talk about what happened last week. It was not a busy week, but it was a fun week. Why don't you tell us a little bit about cross country last week?
Yeah, we had Patrick Morgan, one of our star athletes, compete this week in Columbia for the state meet, and ran extremely hard. Proud of him. He had an amazing season.
Had a great. I think he won 5 or 6 races.
Yeah, won the region.
Yep.
Got 2 PRs that I know of.
Yep. I think his last 3 races he actually PR'd. His best time of the year was 16:43, which is probably faster than I can drive 3 miles.
Yeah.
So Patrick didn't get the results he wanted at the state meet, but he had a super season and has represented us very well.
Yep, proud of him and a great leader for our team. So thank you to Patrick for a great year.
Speaking of good representation, our tennis team also had a great season. They lost out to Somerville last week in the second round of the playoffs, but every match went to third set tiebreakers. So very, very hard fought battle. Kind of had a lot of adversity that night. They actually learned a lot down that night for a high-speed chase. They had to move locations. It was a really tough night, but our girls played very hard and didn't offer any excuses. So
yeah, proud of them. Good season.
Great season. Girls, great season, and we'll go get them next year.
That's right.
So we also had last week a football game where we liked the outcome a little bit. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, I can definitely talk about that. We played Friday night with 3 light poles.
That's true. That's true.
But played against Conway, and our boys went out there and they played hard, and it was a close game throughout, but we prevailed.
But you know you can't spell West without the dub. That's a win. Only the 6th time in history we've beaten Conway High School. Isn't that crazy? Only 6 times we've beaten them, so last week was one of them. So yeah, huge shout out to our football team. They finished the regular season. A little shout out,
go ahead. If not, Kevin Wells,
Kevin Wells
just one of those guys that came out and
Kevin Wells had a tiptoe touchdown catch with 1 second to go in the half, and then had the game-clinching touchdown on a 58-yard slant pattern. We were talking about
catching that slant pattern, and Kevin,
a super night for Kevin.
I am proud of you for not getting tracked down.
Super night for Kevin. Super night, super season for the football team. They finished 9-1. We were talking before we started filming. If you add up all of Cooper's 1,000 yards, like 1,038, all of the Limbs 2,070 something yards, it's 1.76 miles of rushing yardage this year,
which is shorter than I drive to work each day.
You could actually, you can basically say they ran from the school to Interstate 20 without being tackled. That's pretty remarkable. A good season, and that's going to lead us into This Week at West. You may have noticed a lot more meat at this table now. We'd like to welcome Mr. Barry Townsend. Mr. Townsend, thanks for joining us today.
It's great to be here.
I'll let Mr. Dowdell give you a better introduction than that. We'll try it 2 ways and edit out the worst one.
Absolutely. Mr. Townsend, our board chair, gracious enough that he was stopping by. We asked him to join the show, but we're proud of him. We're happy that he's here, and he's done a lot of good things for us that we're going to talk about shortly.
Speaking of good things, I'm not sure if you guys have seen the basketball court yet, but it looks absolutely phenomenal. While we're talking, we'll show some video, some aerial stuff. But Mr. Townsend actually designed our court, in addition to designing our new logo and our rebrand that we're pushing here. So why don't you tell us a little bit?
I thought I was here to help Jody out with the offensive line Friday.
We had a lot of trouble blocking 91 last week. Tonka's one of the better players in the country, so that's fair.
Sometimes what we promise is not actually.
That's right.
Okay,
that's the hook.
Maybe next sinker.
That's how they got me here.
We got you in. We got you in.
Well, the court looks pretty sweet.
It does look pretty sweet.
I think that in a single word, sweet.
I think that's a good way to define it.
Is
it how you visioned it to come out? I mean, is that what you saw in your head?
It's it's big.
It is big.
It is. It's much larger than it appears on an 8.5 by 11 inch sheet of paper. I have to say that is true. But personally, I think the new logo probably added 2 or 3 wins to the football season, and so I'm expecting the new court to add, I don't know, 5, 6 wins to
for each of the teams. Basketball games.
Absolutely,
and we'll let Coach Starvis know this.
Sure,
yeah, that's just expectation.
Sure. Yeah. Well, and we kind of say it jokingly, expectation-wise, but I think our commitment to doing this kind of thing it kind of shows our dedication. We are expecting you to win. Here it is. We are expecting your fans to show up. We'll talk about that later. But I just want to thank you for the court design, and I think everything looks really, really good. And it wasn't just our school that got the new designs, right? It's everybody.
No, all three schools have worked on the new branding for each of the 3 schools, and all three schools are getting their court's refinished. Actually, Wilson's being refinished as we speak.
And I've actually seen some pictures. It looks really good. So
yeah, cannot wait to see those.
Not as good as ours. So speaking of this week at West, we only have one official event this week, and that's playoff football on Friday nights. The Knights will host the Foxes of Ashley Ridge Friday at 7:30. Did you come last Friday night to the football game?
Was not able to.
You were not alone.
No.
The region championship was witnessed by dozens of fans last week. It was a
not hundreds, dozens.
It was a very, I don't want to use the word poor turnout, but it could have been a lot better. I hate that we've had arguably the biggest two games in the last 5 years here in the last 2 weeks, and nobody's been here to see it. So this week we're going to try to pack the stands. We are 7:30. Very rare to get a home playoff game, even rarer to host multiple home playoff games, so we can use your support this week. Come on out at 7:30. As a reminder, no passes will work this week. This is playoffs, and so the money is different, so everybody's going to pay $7 to get in this week. Anything to add?
The money's always green, though, isn't it?
Check.
Okay.
Check.
All right. Just
Check. Mr. Dowdell, anything?
No, just please come out and support us. I think the culture here has been fantastic. Athletics has had a huge part to do with that. And,
those guys have worked too hard for us not to support it.
Exactly. I can't thank Coach Generat, Coach Johnson enough. That these guys are out here each and every day working hard. To get a home playoff game, that's big. And we're excited. We want to celebrate that, so come celebrate with us.
Mr. Townsend, I know you know how we end the show, right?
I am quite familiar, yeah.
Thanks for joining us. See you next week.